All right. Thank you so much for inviting me. So my name is Mark Goldman. I'm the faculty director for the Quantitative Biology and Bioinformatics minor. And I would like to today just take you through some aspects of the minor, what it's about, what you might do with this minor, and then a little bit about some courses in the minor and some other courses in the area that might give you an introduction to the area as you think about participating in this minor. Okay, so the thing I'd like to first say, just to motivate this minor, and really sort of what motivates the fields of quantitative biology and bioinformatics, is that the major problems in biology are quantitative. So take the genetic code. So there are just 4 letters, but there are billions of base pairs, and those 4 letters make up all of the information in our genetic code, which define a lot of who we are, what diseases we might have, what personality traits we might have. And it's fundamentally a quantitative and computational problem to go from that sequence of letters to pulling out what the genes are, and then translating from those genes to what the proteins are, and so on. Take the next example here, cell signaling. So this is just showing a cartoon, sort of a limited cartoon of all of the molecules involved in a particular cell, and actually a network of these molecules that goes wrong in cancer. And what I'd like you to notice is just how many different molecules are interacting in incredibly complex ways. And ultimately unraveling these complex interactions is, again, fundamentally a quantitative problem. We're not going to just look at it and see the answer without computer models. Similarly, for the bottom picture here, the brain. The brain is a network of billions of interacting neurons, and each of these neurons have incredibly complex cells themselves. So to understand things like, how do we perceive sensations? Where do our emotions come from? What governs our actions? All of these are encoded in the connectivity of the brain and the electrical interactions and chemical interactions taking place in the brain. And then finally, on the left here, climate change. Climate change is the biggest existential problem, facing humanity right now. And again, it's a complex system where we have the environment and weather systems and the, sort of geological and geophysical climate systems interacting with ecosystems and animal interactions, and bringing these together is how we will finally understand, what are the key places that we can mitigate the effects of climate change and really understand where they are, and hopefully anticipate some of the problems and be able to, by anticipating them, think about with computational models how we might make them less or ideally fix them. So all of these problems, which are the big ones that you see in the newspaper, genes, cancer, the brain, climate change, they all fundamentally are quantitative and computational problems at their heart. So quantitative biology, as I just showed in the previous slide, has a very broad reach. So the minor is really about training, the core techniques that are applied to many, many different systems. And then you and your future careers can go on to solve lots of different problems. This just highlights a few of those. So fields like population biology, epidemiology, and mathematical ecology. Classic problems here would be disease spread dynamics and the effect of climate change in populations. COVID would be here. How do we understand the spread of COVID, and how do we, design mitigation measures? This all came from quantitative models. Next one, systems biology, is understanding the complex networks of interactions between molecules within a cell or between different cells. Computational neuroscience is about developing mathematical models to understand the operation of the brain and the nervous system. Biophysics is understanding physical principles underlying biological systems, whether it be how individual molecules work or thinking about structures of biomechanics and the mechanics of walking and running and tissue. And then finally, in the name of this minor, bioinformatics. And bioinformatics is a very broad name, refers to the analysis of biological data using mathematical and computational approaches, most classically, bioinformatics focuses upon genomic data, reading, taking this string of letters and pulling out the genome, translating that to what proteins the genome encodes for, and then how they interact to cause a cell to function. Okay, so what can you do with this training? So there's a huge number of things that would be beneficial, or which having this minor would be really beneficial to your future career. So one of them would be industry. So a lot of biotech, uses a lot of quantitative and computational approaches. Government agencies, public health agencies, environmental agencies, again, just as we saw with the COVID crisis, we're based on quantitative models. And then consulting firms, and here I'm saying consulting firms, not even necessarily biology related, but in general, consulting firms like to hire people who think carefully and clearly, analytically and quantitatively to help consult with companies all over the world. Second topic, graduate schools. So I know within my own graduate program, and I've shared this, discussion with others, that biology grad schools consider quantitative training to be a huge plus. So it gives you a leg up. And likewise, if you're applying to medical or some other professional school and you have quantitative training, this can be really a distinguishing factor that makes applications stand out. Okay, now getting more into the specific minor. So first of all, up here, you can click on this and this will take you to the minor information sheet where you can find much more information than I'll say right now. But the big picture goal of the minor is to provide an interdisciplinary introduction to the core problems and quantitative and computational approaches that, as I said in the first slide, are redefining all of biology. So how do we actually carry that out in the minor? Well, the key training elements starts with computer programming and then building up a mathematical modeling toolkit, taking biological phenomena and describing them in terms of mathematical models. And the core elements of that are the courses are linear algebra, not required, but recommended, differential equations, which is introduced in calculus courses. So you will have seen that, and probability. In addition, we have core coursework in bioinformatics. Again, this is more talking about looking at genomic data and how do you pull out genomes and how do you translate from genomes to proteins and understanding their structures. And then there's a whole series of quantitative and biological electives. There's many choices, but I did want to put one flag out that you should look at these in advance because they have different prereqs, and you're going to want to know that in advance as you chart out your minor. So in the final two slides, I just wanted to highlight the two key course series, one required for the minor, and then one which, if you're thinking about this, you might be interested in taking, before going into this minor. So the first is what I would refer to as the Math for Biology series. It's MathBis 27A, 27B, and 107. Minors are only upper level courses except for one course, but sometimes there are hidden prerequisites. You should know this for any minor. So 107 has a hidden prerequisite of Math 27A, and that's linear algebra with applications to biology. It's really the most fundamental math, probably far more important than calculus, so I strongly recommend it. 27B isn't required, but it's differential equations, and differential equations is about modeling anything that changes over time, and that's, needless to say, a huge number of things that you might be interested in studying has something changing over time. And then fundamentally biological processes are probabilistic, and that's 107 is about probability and stochastic processes. I will say that we also allow the not biological version of 27A, which is 22A, but we strongly recommend 27A because it's biology related and it has a lot more modeling focus on it rather than just theoretical mathematics. So the emphasis of these courses is really on the merging the math with building models of biological phenomena. They satisfy all of the prereqs that you would need for going to graduate schools that require things like linear algebra and differential equations, but they're taught in the context of learning how to build mathematical and computer models. So there's weekly computational modeling lab sections with real world data. And they also demonstrate how the same equation appears across multiple domains and scales of biology so that you can take what you learn and apply it to many different problems. And we have a wonderful set of extremely devoted faculty who have taught this and really want to be there and just love these courses. So I think you'll have super engaged faculty if you take these courses. Finally, I'd like to talk about some other courses of interest that are at the lower level. Again, they won't count for the minor, but if you're thinking about doing this minor, you might want to sign up for one of these just to get a taste of quantitative biology. The first is taught in fall and winter quarters. It's called Genome Hunters, and it's actually what's called a course-based research class, or a CURE, course-based undergraduate research experience. And in the fall, you do quantitative behavioral and genomics experiments and analyze that data quantitatively. And in the winter, you actually do bioinformatic analysis of the genomes that you extracted in the fall. And actually, this course has been cited by the American Society of Microbiology for producing a paper, a genome report that they cited as their genome resource of the month. So you can also publish things with a professor, because a professor will be doing this research with you. It's in a fantastic class, and the next offering will be this fall. And then BIS 20Q is just simply called Modeling in Biology. It's what it says. It's an introduction to how you build models in biology, and we think of it as a greatest hits album. It introduces you to some of the most famous models in all of biology. And again, the faculty are incredibly invested in these and incredibly devoted. If you have any questions, my email is on the first slide, and I'd be happy to take any questions and meet with you if that would be helpful. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So you talked a lot about the different prerequisites that go into these courses, and I would like to know about some of the other biology and math prerequisites that there are, like the Biz 2 series, for example.
Yeah, so again, because it's a minor and it's upper level courses, there are going to be some prerequisites. And there's really two halves of this minor. One is on the math side, and that's where the math prereq is going to be the standard, one of the standard calculus series, usually math 17 or 21, as well as the hidden prerequisite that I flagged, which is math either 22A or recommended 27A, which is linear algebra. On the biology side, the most important prereq is BIS 2A, which is molecular and cellular biology. If you are interested in the more ecological direction, then you would want to be taking BIS 2B and or BIS 2C to set up being able to take those electives.
Thank you so much. And then also bioinformatics and quantitative biology, this is an interdisciplinary minor. So does that mean that I'll be interacting with the same professors again and again, or with a bunch of different professors?
Yeah, so as you saw on this slide and on the previous slide here, you'd be interacting with a wide range of faculty. So the way this minor, this minor and this effort and these courses came about is actually by faculty from all of the different colleges getting together and saying, what is really the essence of modern biology and the quantitative and computational approaches, and creating as teams that are interdisciplinary these courses. So you see here the Math for Biology series. Certainly you have faculty who developed it from mathematics, but also ecology and evolution, a joint faculty appointment in math and biomedical engineering, and another biomedical engineer. So again, the faculty come from all over. The next slide, you see the same for the faculty coming. Jonathan Eisens, the director of the UC Davis Microbiome Initiative, Alex Norden, neurobiology, physiology, and behavior, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you. And then also, you talked about the Genome Hunters course where you are doing research with a professor, but would I be able to take like a research or internship course and get like transcript notation? So that would be a 192 or 193 course.
Yeah, not for this minor. So this minor is course based, and it's based on the list of electives. It's such a broad major. It's such a broad, I keep saying major, such a broad minor that we really want to make sure that we cover all the bases. So it's just based on standard coursework.
Great. And then my last question is, what makes this minor unique? What's your favorite part about it?
Yeah, so I think what makes it unique is really that traditionally biology is taught in a very qualitative manner. And again, as I stated, that doesn't match with the real world. And what makes it unique is really hand in hand having the biology next to the mathematical and computational approaches that is so important today, and fundamentally framing biology problems in terms of mathematical models that really let us understand the essence of them and understand how to practically extract that essence from biological data.